Jeremiah 10. Hear what the Lord says to you, people of Israel. This is what the Lord says. Do not learn the ways of the nations or be terrified by signs in the heavens, though the nations are terrified by them. For the practices of the peoples are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with a chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails, so it will not totter. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber field, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. No one is like you, Lord. You are great, and your name is mighty in power. Who should not fear you, King of the nations? This is your due. Among all the wise leaders of the nations and in their kingdoms, there is no one like you. They are all senseless and foolish. They are taught by worthless wooden idols. Hammered silver is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz. What the craftsman and goldsmith have made is then dressed in blue and purple, all made by skilled workers. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God, the eternal King. When he is angry, the earth trembles. The nations cannot endure his wrath. Tell them this: these gods, who did not make the heavens and the earth, will perish from the earth and from under the heavens. But God made the earth by his power. He founded the world by his wisdom and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he thunders, the waters in the heavens roar. He makes clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. Everyone is senseless and without knowledge. Every goldsmith is shamed by his idols. The images he makes are a fraud. They have no breath in them. They're worthless, the objects of mockery. When their judgment comes, they will perish. He who is the portion of Jacob is not like these, for he is the maker of all things, including Israel, the people of his inheritance. The Lord Almighty is his name. Gather up your belongings to leave the land, you who live under siege, for this is what the Lord says. At this time I will hurl out those who live in this land. I will bring distress on them so that they may be captured. Woe to me because of my injury. My wound is incurable. Yet I said to myself, this is my sickness, and I must endure it. My tent is destroyed. All its ropes are snapped. My children are gone from me and are no more. No one is left now to pitch my tent or set up my shelter. The shepherds are senseless and do not inquire of the Lord, so they do not prosper, and all their flock is scattered. Listen, the report is coming. A great commotion from the land of the north. It will make the towns of Judah desolate, a haunt of jackals. Lord, I know that people's lives are not their own. It's not for them to direct their steps. Discipline me, Lord, but only in due measure, not in your anger, or you will reduce me to nothing. Pour out your wrath on the nations that do not acknowledge you, on the peoples who do not call on your name. For they have devoured Jacob. They have devoured him completely and destroyed his homeland. Exactly 4 weeks ago today, I told you that massive devastation was coming, that you would see with your own eyes, and it would feel like it's crashing down on your head. But for those of you who are his, those of you who are living out this covenant, you will be passed over. That does not mean get lazy. But see, the thing is, those who are living out this covenant, they know that. They know that they can't get lazy. They are not like counterfeit Christianity, just saying, oh, we're going to be, raptured and picked up before we have to endure anything. They know that they're here suffering for Christ. So it's not the same kind of word that I'm speaking. I am not speaking that message. And since that time, I've spoken to you about many things that have happened. Since that day, actually, he spoke that word to me on July 20th, but I didn't share it with you until July 21st because I wanted to make sure, because I was sitting with him and I was asking him to confirm again that that's what he wanted me to speak. And so since that time, there has been massive devastation. The worst flood in China in 140 years, the worst fire in 100 years in the United States in Lahaina. There are fires in Canada. There are fires in the United States. There's fires all over the place and floods all over the place. In Norway, in Italy, in Spain, in Nova Scotia. Massive, massive devastation. And you know what I keep hearing about on the news? About Trump's 100th indictment. No one wants to talk about what's going on in the world right now. No one wants to talk about what God's bringing. So you're going to need to pay attention. You're going to need to pay attention to what he's doing. Here in Southern California, we've been preparing for Hurricane Hillary. So I've done the normal things without getting hysterical. I've, gone to the grocery store because we might not be able to get to the grocery store, and charged my electronics that need to be charged, make sure I have enough water. And really, the way that I discern that is there's not like a template for it. God has not stirred anything up in me. I know what he feels like. So if he wanted to stir something up in me, like to go buy out the store in toilet paper, then he would do that. But those are not the ways of God. Those are the ways of pagans. So I know that I don't need to do those things, nor do I feel him stirring me to do those things. If I did, I would do it. It's not his way. And there's something that, for weeks now, before we even knew about Hurricane Hilary, there's something that I've been asking God if I should do, if I should, anchor this thing down to my concrete. And I got into my car to go to the store to go get this drill bit to drill it into the concrete. And he seized me in pain. I literally had to pull over. I was in so much pain. And I could hear him telling me not to go do it. And I just did not understand. But I obeyed and I went back home. And of course, I'm reminding him of it again. And I'm asking him, why do you not want me to do this? If those winds come, it's going to be a problem. Why would you not want me to do this? And I'm going to tell you why. Because he reminded me of that dumb parable that I've been telling you is dumb and is intended for us to trust more in the work of our own hands than we do in God. And to think that God requires us to engage in the work of our hands. And it's kind of crazy because some of the things he's been reminding me of are like, me being a young 17-year-old mother. I mean, I don't know if you remember what you were like at 17, but I was a dumb 17-year-old. In terms of making good decisions, I did not make good decisions. And yet he kept me alive and he kept my daughter alive and he kept us safe from so many things. And I didn't know anything. And then I got some money and I got some success and I got an education and I had I had these businesses and I thought I knew everything. And I thought, well, now I need to use that money to go pay all these experts to tell me, what to do. And I went and put my trust in them. And you know what happened? I got really sick from trusting them because I shifted my focus from the God who had been carrying me through my life, who had been taking care of me and taking care of my little girl, the God that I had to rely on at that time because I didn't have any money and I didn't have those businesses or success or wisdom of my own stupidity. I didn't have any of those things. I wouldn't have known that people anchor this thing down to the concrete in general. That wouldn't have been something that I would have known. And yet he always watched out for me. He dealt with me, but only in due measure. And I've been telling that parable about that so-called preacher in the boat where people are coming by and they're saying the waters are rising, the waters are rising. And boy, isn't that funny? Because I had no idea Hurricane Hilary was coming in, that the waters would probably rise. And the preacher keeps saying, no, God's going to take care of me. He's going to, make sure that I'm okay. And then he dies and he goes to God and he asks him, well, why did you not take care of me? Like I trusted you implicitly. And as the stupid story goes, God responded to him and said, well, I sent you rescuers. What do you want me to tell you? That is not the God we have. You put your faith in God implicitly and he will be faithful to you. He has had me make decisions that I do not understand. I do not understand why he has had me make the decisions that I have. And yet I trust in him. I believe in him. And I know that he's not going to forsake me, even if it's a foolish decision. Because if I believe in him and I trust in him, he will never forsake me. That's what his word tells me, that those who trust in him, he will never forsake. And it's been kind of hard, actually. I've been thinking about this, for days now, weeks, actually, and asking him, like, all it would take, Lord, is a wind. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? But I remember that day because I was sitting there, like, waiting for that pain to go away, and he had me, like, seized. I couldn't drive. Like, I could hardly even breathe. And I didn't know he was going to use it for right now to test my faith. But you know what? I want you to understand the significance of Passover. In the very first Passover, God's people invoked the blood of the lamb over their doorway. They went into their houses. They rid their houses of yeast. They closed the door until his wrath passed by, and they were passed over. And then on the next significant, major Passover, Christ gave his life as that sacrificial lamb, that the blood of that lamb would seal us for these very times so that when his wrath comes, we will be passed over. His wrath is not for his people. And we get into all of our ideas. Well, how are you going to do that, Lord? How are you going to pass over just me when wickedness is all around me? How are you going to do that? And you don't even have me making decisions that the world says are smart, are just good preparation. And you're over here testing me to see whether I'm going to make a dumb decision in favor of trusting you. A decision that the world would say is dumb in favor of trusting you because that's what you're telling me to do. Because you're testing my heart to see if I really believe that that parable is dumb. If I really believe that you pass over your people just like you've said you will. So he had me pretty low today, like low in the spirit and doing these preparations, but just very, very slow, walking the property to see if there's anything that I need to do or put away. What should I get from the grocery store? Just simple things, but very, very slow, not frantic like the rest of the world. And every time I feel that concern, I bring it back to him. You sure, Lord? You sure? And then I turn on the news and I, want to see, okay, well, from last night till today, the hurricane has been upgraded from a Category 3 to a Category 4. Have there been any changes? Do we know when it's coming? And there's all of this sort of hysteria around, preparing. Here's how you need to prepare. Here's what you need to do. And the thing that he pushed on me so strongly is you know exactly what you need to do to prepare. There's nothing I'm telling you that you need to do to prepare. What's the one thing that I tell you? Return to me, and I'll return to you. So that's what I want to tell you. I don't know where all of you live. You live in different areas, and I've, spoken with a lot of you all over the world. That's the only preparation that you need. Return to him, and he will return to you. Don't start working on your pagan storehouses, because there's no surefire way to incite God's wrath like living like the pagans and setting up idols before him. So don't do that. Return to him. He will return to you. In the words of Isaiah 26:20, go, my people, enter your rooms and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until his wrath has passed by. See, the Lord is coming out of his dwelling to punish the people of the earth for their sins. The earth will disclose the blood shed on it. The earth will conceal its slain no longer. Those are our instructions. That's what we're supposed to do. So whether you're going to be affected by Hurricane Hillary or something else, and you will be affected by something. I already told you 4 weeks ago you were going to see massive devastation with your own eyes. It will feel like it's coming crashing down on your head. God's people are going to feel this. And what I said to you has been happening for the last 4 weeks, over the last 4 weeks. These are the things you need to remember. Don't go listening to me and, as people do with false prophets where they start, listening to so that they can know, like, how do I need to go prepared? No, I'm telling you the way you need to prepare. You don't prepare by the work of your hands. You pray and you stay with his spirit, and he will let you know if there's anything you need to get, if there's anything that you need to do. The way that you prepare, look at the way that he's preparing me. There was really not much that I needed to go and get from the store. They were regular groceries, charging a couple things to make sure that I have power in the event of a power outage. Minimal. I'm telling you the way that you need to prepare. And this goes for everything. You always go back to his spirit. You always return to him. He will return to you. You're not going to have any peace if you do it any other way. If you start thinking that you control things by the work of your hands and you're so powerful and you're the one who's going to protect your family, no, you're not the one who protects your family. At least not by the work of your hands. The way to protect your family is to return to God and be a good spiritual shepherd. Because when it comes down to it, we can't even save ourselves. I mean, really, what are we going to do for ourselves? These are the times that we're living in, and so we need to get used to understanding and rend our heart to understanding what it is that God expects from us, how it is that he's building his people right now, because his people aren't just not doing any work. The work that they're doing is in their hearts. The work they're doing is to trust and have faith. And I want you to remember something else. You remember about the Israelites that were grumbling against Moses, the Israelites that were, saying things like, why'd you take us out of Egypt? They're, glorifying the good old days when they were in bondage. There we sat around pots of meat. Yeah, but you were also slaves. Remember the rebellion. Remember the things that God has done for you, because many of them forgot. They forgot who God is. They forgot the name that he made for himself. And they started wanting to melt their jewelry down and make a golden calf. Remember that these things were done as an example to us. Hide yourselves for a little while. Remove your house or rid your house of yeast. Remove that yeast, that sin in your life. Examine yourself. Return to him. He'll return to you. He will pass over you. He has every ability to do it. And you might need to just remind yourself of what he's done. Enter his rest. That's what we're supposed to be doing right now. Now, if the power does go out, because we've had flash flood warnings since last night, but we haven't seen any rain. I know my daughter said that the wind is already starting out by her. So if I have no service, then the assembly will still meet. I appreciate your prayers, but you all still meet and, do assembly just like you would if I was there. I'm just one of you. There's no reason you can't have assembly if I'm not there. And once I get service again, then I'll be back on uploading videos and doing assembly, and hopefully I'll be at assembly tomorrow. I hope you'll take what I've said seriously. This is a time where we need to stay real close to him and not just even status quo. Like, we need to get in deep, not even just like, oh, okay, I'm here, or trying to maintain the status quo relationship. No, get in deeper, get your word, get the word out, sit down with the word, pray, sort through what's going on in your heart. Because honestly, it's the only way we're going to keep our sanity going through these last days. Thank you for listening. Please discern this message with God.